So, Toy Story was the first movie I ever saw in a movie theater. It is the subject of some of my earliest memories. The scene where Woody climbs up Andy's bed to meet Buzz Lightyear for the first time might actually be my first memory. So please understand that I am way too close to this franchise emotionally. Objectivity is not even an option here. If I have to try and be objective for a second, I would like to say that this movie isn't for my donkey-brained ass. It's obviously for little kids, and overall, I think it's a pretty good flick, and it's very funny. Okay, enough of that, back to my shit take. Like everyone else who grew up with this franchise, my first reaction to the news that Pixar was making a Toy Story 4 was, no, why? Pixar had already made us happy with the ending of Toy Story 3. It was perfect. Andy symbolically leaves his childhood behind and gives his toys to a new kid who will love them just like he did. This ending not only gave us closure, it made us feel good about the entire franchise. In this world, it's the fate of these special toys to be passed along from kid to kid, getting played with for eternity. It was the kind of rare ending that almost everyone was happy with. It allowed people who grew up with Toy Story to move along with their lives in the same way Andy did. During the lead up to Toy Story 4, Pixar released several pretty good trailers that made me feel slightly more optimistic about seeing it. The movie looked almost like a side story in the lives of Bonnie's toys. Just some filler for the big cheese to milk. Eventually I went from, no, why? To, okay, but I hope they don't f*** it. Spoiler alert, they f***ed it.
I didn't tell him ahead of time what was coming, and I got to the end and explained it, and he went, What?
I didn't like it.
Now, I don't mean to say that I didn't enjoy Toy Story 4. On the contrary, I had a really good time watching it, I laughed the entire time, and I really liked all the new characters. Before I go any farther, I should warn you that the rest of this video contains some major spoilers for Toy Story 4. You have been warned. As I walked out of Toy Story 4, I liked it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it had undone the perfect ending of Toy Story 3. At the end of the third movie, Andy goes to give his toys to Bonnie. All of them except for Woody. From Andy's perspective, Woody accidentally winds up in the bottom of the box the rest of the toys are in. When Bonnie sees Woody, she refers to him as my cowboy. Good God, the nerve. Even though our boy Andy just gave Bonnie practically every toy he ever owned, except for one he wanted to keep. It wasn't enough for her. It just wasn't enough.
Greedy bitch!
So after a little bit of hesitation, Andy explains that Woody is extra special, and he's a friend that will always be there. He asks that Bonnie take care of him, and reluctantly hands his childhood over. This was totally fine, because we all assumed that Bonnie would love Woody just like Andy did. Well, as it turns out, Bonnie stops playing with Woody and takes to ripping his badge off and yeeting him into her closet. Woody isn't the star of the show in Bonnie's playtime. He's not even a bit player. He's nothing. And while this is an interesting take for Pixar to pursue, it completely takes a turd on the third movie's ending, which is what everyone was so afraid Toy Story 4 would do. During the course of Toy Story 4, Bonnie loses Forky and Woody. Like a typical 4-year-old, Bonnie is completely butthurt about losing Forky, but she never even notices that Woody gets lost. In the end, Woody decides to stay lost and travel the world with Bo Peep. The one toy that Andy wanted to take to college and presumably hand down to his children is lost forever because Bonnie kind of just forgot about him. Is this fucking Game of Thrones? Did D&D have something to do with this movie? Hang on, I'll check. On a side note, oh my god, these guys have basically done nothing but Game of Thrones, and now they're going to be in charge of Star Wars. I'm so afraid. You know, at some point, eventually, Andy is going to talk to Bonnie again and be like, hey, Bonnie, how has Woody been? And she's going to be like, who? Oh, yeah, you know, that priceless cowboy doll I reluctantly gave to you a couple years ago? It was my prized possession. Oh, yeah, I think I lost that.
You what?
To me, it feels like Pixar were trying to make Woody's arc analogous to a parent whose children have moved out and on with their lives, and they've got to figure out what to do with themselves. Woody's kid grew up and literally went to college, And Bonnie essentially forced him into retirement. Now he doesn't know what to do with himself, so he needs to find himself, which is what he does with Bo Peep at the end of the movie. But we know that Woody already had something to do, getting played with by Bonnie. Before Toy Story 4, I assumed that he formed the same bond with her that he had with Andy. But now we get to learn that Woody can't seem to get over Andy. That's right, kids. Your toys that you lose or give away can't get over you. Make sure you keep every toy forever. Become a hoarder. You're welcome, parents. Woody might have been able to get over Andy if Bonnie had given a damn about him in the first place. Which brings us to the real villain of Toy Story 4. No, it's not Gabby Gabby. It's not those creepy dummies. It's Bonnie. Bonnie, who guilted Andy into giving up Woody when he should have been brought to college and beyond with Andy and stayed in his family. Bonnie is a dirty, rotten thief who ruined the Toy Story franchise by being a bad steward to Woody. And I'm sure people will be like, oh well, she was 3 or so when she got Woody, and about 5 when she stopped playing with him and lost him. And kids change really quickly. Go easy on her. And to those people I say, this is not a real child. It is a character created by the same company who wrapped up this franchise perfectly. They made the conscious decision that Bonnie should stop playing with Woody so that they could make yet another unnecessary sequel just to please the mouse. The story didn't need to be told. Nobody can tell me that someone at Pixar was so upset that f***ing Bo Peep didn't have a complete character arc that they needed to undo the ending of Toy Story 3. But that's exactly what they did. And now I'm stuck here feeling like I need to complain about the existence of a movie I thought was overall pretty good, but really didn't need to exist. So to help me vent, some friends of mine on Reddit created r/bonniehate, a subreddit dedicated to shitposting about how awful Bonnie is. Please go meme there. It will help with the healing process. And also, let me know what you thought of my thoughts on Toy Story 4. What did you think about the movie? Did you like it? Did it undo Toy Story 3 for you? Is your childhood ruined like mine is? Obviously, that's just a joke. My childhood is fine, and so is yours.
Subscribe to Tube Daddies, the best toothpaste to TV you can ever brush your mind with.